So this is a master class, so I want everybody to be here. Um I don't want anybody to miss out of this session. That's why I'm making sure that everybody is in the class before we commence. So, but this is based on demand. Normal, we're not meant to have this class, but because of the demand of some of us, we had to schedule this meeting to be today and tomorrow. You know, even though it's not conducive for me, but I wanted us to achieve the essence of this meeting. Today will be the theory aspect and a brief introduction to Canva because that's the tool that we'll be using. There are other tools out there that people can use, but I prefer Canva because of the user experience and the interface. So, good evening once again to everyone. While we wait for others to join, I think it's necessary that we continue. So, so the essence of this meeting is for us to break down the concept of graphic design for businesses and brand. Trust me, in this age and time, brand communication is very essential, is very key. The way you put out your message out there we also determine how people are going to perceive your brand, how people are going to see you. You know, imagine your communication is shabby. Imagine you're not being constructive with your communication, your brand communication. It can tell people that this person is not serious with business. And one of the ways of achieving a good communication process is you having a compelling design, bringing all the element of design and your brand identity, fusing them together to have something compelling that you put out regularly there for people to see. It sends this message in the subconscious of people as they see and as they see the content you are pushing out. It gives them a change of anytime they see you, they they resonate easily with your brand. You understand? So, and that is the essence of having this class. Some of us, the difference between the big guys in the industry and maybe the SMEs or your kind of brand or business is just because of you not utilizing these things that we're going to be discussing. If you put out graphics or design of your brand daily, it speaks volume. Sometimes the things that you're going to write, maybe in one page or in two pages, you can compress them to a carousel and make a carousel in design format and you post. It will resonate better with people and they will easily grab it. They can even save your designs and use it later, repurpose it for their own personal consumption. And that is the essence of this. But we have to understand the fundamentals, which are the principles of design and the elements of design. It's only when you understand this that you will put it into consideration when you're putting out your design messages out there. Some of the issues or some of the lapses we're having from our previous class is the fact that people were coming up with some creative ideas, but they were not fusing together the elements of design into it, and that was a problem. The alignment, the this, something were bad, the color, the contrast, and all of that were issues. And that is why this master class is to take us step by step into it again so that we understand better and we can put all those things into play when we are designing. All right, I'll be sharing my screen now. So this is the graphic design masterclass, and we're going to be delving deep into it now. So just stay with me while I take you through the course. So first, we need to understand what is the principles and rules for a good design, and that is the essence of this. What is graphic design itself? What is graphic design? When you hear graphic design, what comes to your mind and all of that? So graphic design is the process of visual communication and problem solving through the use of type, space, image, and color. is simply the process of visual communication. Now we are communicating, but we are bringing all these elements together into a visual representation to put out our message. Some messages can just be text alone, some messages can just be image alone. But the combination of all these and with all the color, your text, your image together is what we call graphic design. Now, there are elements that makes up a good graphics design, and that is what we're going to be talking about now. We have elements such as line, shape, form, texture, space, size, color, and typography. So line is simply can be in a straight form or it can be curved. Lines can be used for composition. If you look at this image here, if you look at this image, all these now are just combinations of line and curves to give us this representation. In our fundamentals of alphabet, or when we are forming a sentence, they tell us that a word is a combination of two or more words or two or more letters. Alphabet gives us a word. The same thing in design. By the time you combine two lines together, it gives you a shape, it gives you another formation. And so everything we are doing in design is simply a combination of line. Only that some already are into shapes and this. But when you break down those shapes, you see that they are made up of units, combination of different lines coming together. So lines can be a straight or curved lines. So these are the line types. When you're designing, sometimes when you want to make emphasis in your design, you can use the solid type of line, you can use the long dash, you can use the dotted, you can use the dash dotted, the medium dash like that to give you different feel in your design. Now, shapes. Shapes are enclosed objects that can be created by line or created by color and value. And value changes that define their edges. Now, if you look at this image here, you can see that there's a combination of, if you look at the top of this, where my arrow is, you can see that we have different shapes like triangle coming together to give us that feel there. If you expand some of these images, you see that it's just a combination of shapes coming together to give us this. They are not really lines, but if you now break down the shapes, that you see that it's a combination of line. So your shapes, by the time you combine shapes together, you can use it to come up with another different concept entirely. And we're going to be showing you all of that as we move. Now, another thing is texture. Texture is the surface look of an object created by varying dark and light areas. Now, if you look at this place now, it's the same shape that we combine together, but because of the different coloration in it, some places are light, some places are dark. That is why it's giving us that texture. And texture can be rough, it can be smooth, and it can have depth. So all these things are what we'll be considering when we are designing. One of the very important parts in our design is color. Color is very key. Color can enhance or detract from a composition. Color is very powerful but dangerous. Why it's very powerful is when you use the right color, it can give you a perfect outlook in your design. And at the same time, when you don't use it very well, it can destroy the whole creative idea that you wanted to put together. So that is why it is very essential that we know the right combinations when we are designing. Colors can be used to design label hierarchy when you're designing. We're going to get there. I will show you sample. When you want to have different feel, when you want people, what you want people to see first, you can use color to also make that kind of design and show hierarchy in your design. We use color to unify, use color to separate or emphasize. We also use color to decorate. It is necessary that we understand all of this. Sometimes when you're combining color, you don't have to bring in too many color. You just have to use few colors, complementary colors to give you what you want. Now, there are colors, different colors has their different meaning. And I think it is also necessary that we understand this. On February 14, the Valentine Day, what will you see people wearing is red, right? A lot of people wear red, white, and green. And that shows that red represents love. It also represents passion. And that is why you see some brands when they are designing, you see them infusing some of this color to represent what they stand for. Like for example now, MTN uses yellow. That means they are trying to portray happiness, hope. That is what they are trying to portray. Now, for banks like First Bank that uses blue mostly in their color, you can see there is calm and responsible. That's what they are trying to portray. I think for banks like GT, they use orange, energy, happiness, vitality. So the color, like I was saying now, the kind of business or brand that you deal with also determine the kind of color combination you are going to be using. For somebody who is in the fashion space, the person can do a combination of a purple. The person can do with a combination of purple that talks about creativity, royalty, wealth. You can also use a combination of yellow. So the person can also combine a bit of this yellow and purple. For somebody who has something to do with nature, the person definitely will use combination of green, combination of this color. It is ladies that are very good with the names of color and all. So when you are coming up with your design, also make sure that you consider your color. Let it be the kind of color that will represent your brand. Somebody who is selling female things, definitely you go for colors like purple, a bit of maybe yellow and blue in a way, and creamy or ivory. If you are dealing with luxury, if you're selling cars, if you're selling luxury, you look at the kind of color that will represent what you're selling. So it is essential that we also consider that. Now, you might not just be using it for your brand, you might decide to create for somebody else. So when you're creating, you consider all of this. You need to know the person's business, what they do, the kind of industry where they are. All this will inform you in the kind of element and things that you combine together to give you a good design. Okay, let's move. Of course, the color wheel, we have the primary color, we have the secondary color, and we have the tertiary color. So when you're combining your colors, it is essential that you know that you don't combine too many colors. Now, when you have the kind of color you want to use for your brand now, for somebody who is selling female clothes and it is um, purple. Let's go to. I hope you can see my screen. I want to show you something before we continue. All right. I want to show you something about colors. So now, if you can see my screen, you see these colors now. For somebody who is designing and you want to use this color, if you're using this color, this emerald entrance now, this color is telling you that these are the other color combinations you can use that will give you what you want. So you cannot be designing with this now, then you come and take this kind of color, deep blue. So if you are using this now, you need to use something lighter like this to combine it. The combination will go together. Now for all these ones, you can also combine this and this together. So you need to consider color is very essential in our design. So color is very, very important when we are designing, and that is why It can either make your design to come out well, or it can destroy the whole design template. Now, of course, we have the hue, we have the tint, you have the tone, you have the shade. Sometimes when you're trying to create contrast, this is where you deploy this hue, you deploy tint and the tone to give you a different contrast in your color. We have a lot to do. Now, another key thing is your typography. Typography is simply text. We have the serif, the sans serif, we have the script. Now, the ones that have this something on top of them, like an extension are the serif. The ones that do not have are the sans serif, and the script, of course, is for design, different artistic scripts. So if you are designing something that is formal, you are designing like a banner, a professional brochure, of course, you can't. What you can only use is between the serif and sans serif. You cannot use script, except you are designing something for children or something that is very artistic. You can use your script to design them. So please, let's take note of all this. Well, kerning, tracking, leading, and alignment, it's also very essential. These are technical terms which might not necessarily bother you, but the only place where you need to know is alignment. Alignment is how your text arrangement is. One of the challenge that I noticed in our previous class with some of the students is that alignment was a problem. They were not really putting into consideration of alignment, and that is very, very essential. When these elements are not there, when these principles is ignored, it destroys the whole idea in your design. Let's now move to the design principles. In design principles now, we have the contrast, we have the hierarchy, we have the balance, we have the alignment, we have the proximity, and we have repetition. I might not dwell so much on some of them, but some that are very essential will be explained. So first is balance. Balance is your graphics need to have a sense of balance. This isn't to say that each side needs to be perfectly symmetrical, but the amount of visual weight on each side should feel cohesive and intentional to create this feeling of balance. Now, if you look at this one now, you can see there's a symmetric balance between the two sides. This is balance. It gives your design a visual appeal that when I see it, I say, whoa, this thing look nice, even without looking at the content. Something that is well arranged will appeal more to something that is scattered. If you go to a house that is well arranged and neatly dressed, you want to stay there. But if you go to a house that is scattered, you don't want to stay there. So the same thing for your design. Design is just being creative. So when you arrange your elements well, it will appeal to people and they want to look at it. And asymmetrical, of course, is where your balance is not so like equal, but it's still appealing. You understand? So one side is bigger than the other, but it is still balanced. Symmetrical is like when it is equally balanced. Asymmetrical is like when it's not equally balanced. So you can put like something bigger and something smaller, but it is still well arranged. The alignment is put into maximum consideration. Good. Look at these samples. You can see this flyer, the alignment of every of these things is aligned to the left hand side. I can see this, and this logo is also aligned together. If you look at this one now, look at the alignment, everything is centralized. If you look at this one too, it is centralized, even though there is gray area or white space in it, but it's still aligned to the center. When you look at this, it easily appeals to you. That's something that is not organized. Let's move. Now, another thing you should consider is your proximity. Proximity. Now, proximity is when you group related items together so that it is visually clear that they are related. This help create organization within your graphics, which causes information to be remembered more easily. Our brains love organization. So when a graphics is organized appropriately, it is both visually appealing and easier to consume. And that's what I talked about in balance as well. So when it is well organized, you want to read it. You can see newspapers, the way they arrange newspapers. When you look at them, so they are arranged like this, and you want to read and read. Proximity on how you make arrangement in your design is also very, very crucial. So another thing is alignment. Alignment is how design element placed in your graphic should be visually aligned to something else on the page. Now, whether there is the side of the page, the edge of an image, the text that is above it, etc., nothing should be placed arbitrarily on the page. This is probably the number one beginner mistake I see in graphics, and possibly the easiest to fix. Like I mentioned in our former class, this was the major mistake that was repeating. Alignment. Some people just put text anywhere, put logo here, put this one here. It will not appeal to me. I need something to be organized. So when you are putting your design, make sure that it's aligned. If you want it to be left aligned, let it be left aligned. If you want it to be center aligned, make it center aligned. If you want it to be right aligned, make it right aligned. So that when anybody is seeing it, it appeals to them and when they want to consume the information you have on your design. Okay, so look at this now. This one of the student design, which was came out well with a little touch from there. So you can see that these text, they are all aligned to the right. This is also aligned, but a mixture of different alignment is what is giving us this. But you can see it's still appealing to the eye. If you look at this one below, this chocolate is aligned to the center. Every of the element text, or they are all aligned to the center. And you look at this one now, they maximize the whole canvas, design canvas, but they make sure that the land and every other smaller details are all aligned within the space of the canvas. So that is essential that you know all of this before you even go into design. That's why I just don't want to go into you designing. We need to understand this. When you understand these principles and elements, then trust me, you don't even need anybody again. You can go ahead and be practicing, and you keep getting better. Then repetition. Of course, repeating certain characteristic, maybe like font, colors, layout, design element, etc. within your design will keep the design unified and cohesive. This then creates a visual theme that creates this unification and consistency. This is especially helpful when designing multiple related graphics or multi-page document because of the repetition of design elements. We tie them all together and make them feel unified and consistent. Repetition is also the number one way to create a recognizable brand identity. So if on your design, on your different design, and I'm seeing your logo, I am seeing your color, I am seeing all these little things all coming and showing up again, I will easily know that this is this person's brand. It will give me a sense of consistency. I say, wow, this person knows what they are doing. So if your color is green, you are repeating green in different aspects of your design. Somebody, oh, I see green here, I see green here. And we know that, oh, this person, this is their brand color. So that is the importance of repetition. Now, if you look at this design, you can see everything here is green. Everything here is green. The colors green was repeated, but just that there were also color gray area white. But you understand that the repetition here is just color, which is green. If you look at this other one, this pattern, you see that the color, there's a repetition of shape, there's a repetition of color. You can see blue, you can see yellow, you can see purple. These three colors were repeated and the shapes were also repeated. So it gives you a sense of consistency. So that is the essence of this. And contrast, again, is one of the mistakes that I was noticing in our previous class deliveries. So the contrast is the if two items are not exactly the same, maybe they are different, and in most cases, make them really different while still keeping them from the same. Visual theme, of course. This creates more interest on the page and makes certain elements stand out among the rest. This also creates visual hierarchy, which aids in the organization of the graphics. You know, so if you have like this, you have this circle and you have this, you know, but you wanted to paint or you want the viewer to see these two items differently. So you use contrast to differentiate them. So the next thing we talk about is white space. White space is simply the art of nothing. I have no idea who said it, but it wasn't me, so I put it in quotes. Nonetheless, I thought it was a great way to describe this concept. White space is the absence of text and graphics. This can also be referred to as negative space and therefore doesn't actually have to be white. White space can be either color the background is. So white space is good. It helps us to have a balance in our design. It doesn't have to be white, it can be any color. It's also called a negative space. From this sample, you can see the object and every other thing here is white except for the smaller text. And this one too, you can see the space in between the text. And the next thing we'll talk about is hierarchy. Hierarchy is defined as a system or organization in which people or groups are ranked one above the other according to status or authority. Hierarchy, when implemented, literally creates a path for your eye to move around the page. Yes, you can in fact control how the viewer consumes your graphics. Viewers will start with the most dominant feature of your graphics, then move to the next dominant and the next until they've looked over the entire thing. So if you look at this, you see the color difference. Now, when I look at this, so the first thing I see is the red. Then I go to the brown, then the one with fading brown to this one. This is what I want people to see first, followed by this and followed by this. That is hierarchy. But this one we use color to differentiate it. You can also use text to differentiate your hierarchy. You simply want the viewers to see what you are seeing. You can see this sample. When you look at this, the first thing you see is think differently. And this is smile before you start looking at the other content. So I want people to see the smile first before any other thing. I would say don't get intimidated by the concept. Strip it down to some basic and start your journey there. See, trust me, you don't have to whack your head about the technical terms or technicalities involved. There's nothing there. All you need to is to practice, start, and trust me, with time, everything will begin to align. You just need to start. The journey of a thousand miles begin with a step. Of course, text and type, like I mentioned earlier, is fundamental. It is fundamental to our design. Type conveys emotions and mood. There's some font you cannot use for official purpose. There's some font you can use for maybe you want to play around, you want to make a wedding invite, a birthday invite. The text you use for them might be different to the one you are using to do if you want to do like a graduation invite or you want to do um, an official event invite. So you need to know all of this. Of course, it's always advised that you use not more than two or three different fonts in your design so that you don't spoil the whole design. Some fonts have variables, so you can have like sans serif, and the sans serif we have bold, we have thin, so you can play around with the variables to still give you what you want. And people would think maybe you combine two or three fonts, but you are still using one font with of different variables. You understand? So when you are doing your design, always consider this. You don't have to bring in too many fonts in your design. And these are sites where you can go and download font in case you don't see the font, default font you are looking for. You can come to this site, dafont.com, Google, Google Fonts, font.google.com, and the creativemarket.com to download your font. and you can use them for your design. Okay, so this is how it looks like. This is how the Google font looks like. So you come, you download. This is the font. This is the font, and this is Creative Market. So you can search for the font you want. Okay. So the tool we are using is Canva, and I love Canva because of the user friendliness, the user experience it has, and the features in it. I have other tools I use, Photoshop, CorelDRAW, but with Canva has made it easy. Even if you're not a full-time designer, with Canva you can still come up with something and you have something appealing. It has pre-installed template, it has layout, it has different elements that you can combine freely. Only what it requires is data. Although if you're using the free version, you might be limited. So that is why I propose you get a pro if you have the means. But you can still use the free version to create appealing design. But if you're interested in pro, it's just 5,000 naira and it's a lifetime subscription. You have access to everything. You can create videos, you can edit videos, you can edit logos, you have access to multiple elements and Pro Tools on it. So no restriction for you. That is, I've been using it for over a year now, I think, and it has really been worthwhile. So in case you want to jump on it, you can reach out to me. Then one thing I also like to mention is when you're designing, the kind of pictures you use also matters. You cannot use a picture that is pixelated. At the end of the day, by the time you export your design, you see that the contrast or the sharpness of your image will not look so good. By the time you print it, if you print it now, you see it coming out in the banner wrongly. So when you need pictures for your design, I advise you use original photography when possible. It gives you more authentic display on your design. So you can use images like this. But if you cannot get images like this, you can use this site. This site I use Pixabay most times. So you can also try out the other site and see what you can get. So when you go there, you type in the command and it will give you what you want. Trust me, it is free, no copyright issues. You can use them as many times as you like. Think of yourself as a creator and collect the great works of others. You don't have to overthink it. You're already creative, you're a creator, you can create amazing things. So you don't overthink it. Just start, continue practicing, practice, you learn, you unlearn, you relearn, and before you know it, you become a force to reckon with. Of course, good design is as little design as possible. Simplify the complex as much as possible. When you want to start, you see badass designers, you be like, I want to be like this. It's good, it can be like that, but always start small. Simplify your design. Start with simple designs. Then, as you go in the process, you relearn. Then you start amplifying your design concept and ideas. With time, you get better in what you're doing. Trust me. And lastly, I wish you good luck in this journey. Some of your best work is ahead of you. When you are done with your maybe your first 10 design and you look back to the one you started with, you'll really be happy with yourself because you would have made some great improvements. Trust me. Okay, so we'll be stopping here today. Tomorrow we'll continue in our hands-on activities.